Beware the moon, lads.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is my third video on the March Mystery Madness challenge, and it's a book that I'm really pleased that I've got back to, in the sense of it's from a series of books, and I'm also really pleased I chose it for the March Mystery Madness because it was a genuine mystery and it was a fantastic book. It's the second book in the Dresden Files. So this is a book called Full Moon. Nice bit of wordplay. Full Moon. And I'm planning on putting this out on April Fool's Day. See what I did there. And it is an awesome follow-up to Stormfront, the first book. So this is the second book in the Dresden Files. I thought this was better than the first book, but weirdly, if you look on BookTube and on Goodreads, this tends to get a bad rap. I'm not really sure about that, what that's about, but people say it gets better. They keep saying, oh, the series gets better. I mean, I thought this was brilliant. So if the series gets better, then clearly it's going to blow my tiny mind. But yeah, this is all about werewolves, which is a good shout anyway, because I always find them fascinating. I love werewolf movies, and the literature I've read with werewolves in them always pleases me. So I like the legend, I like the concept, and they are done so well in this book. One of the interesting things about it, which I knew about before in a vague sense, but I didn't know how he was going to do it, is he defines werewolves in 4 different ways in this book. So there are different types of werewolves, and that works really well, and it allows the plot to develop in a particular way, and it creates one main antagonist, but what's interesting is a kind of a sympathetic antagonist, while there's all sorts of crazy chaos happening around him. And so yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, because the whole point is it is a mystery, and as the plot uncovers, like any good detective story, as the plot develops, you want to be surprised. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will say that the werewolf legend is the centre of this particular horror trope, and like the first book was all about a crazy warlock. So this is a werewolf thing, and there are loads of characters in this, so it's all sorts of things going on. There are lots of different angles, there are lots of different people with different stakes in the plot, and there's lots of manipulation in the plot as well. So as that unfolds, that's one of the intriguing and interesting things about it, how everyone's being manipulated in different ways, and it kind of keeps the mystery going. His relationship, Harry Dresden's relationship with Murphy, develops more. So that's the police officer that he's closest to, and she felt betrayed from the first book, and that's kind of developed in the dialogue and the kind of the ongoing relationship with them in the book, and some of the things that they do, either willingly or reluctantly in the book, kind of compounds that. And there are other characters that are introduced that could be sort of follow-up characters later. There are some characters from the previous book as well that are in this again. You do get the sense that Jim Butcher is clearly intending to create a series. The events from the first book are mentioned a lot in this, and at the end he sort of hints that there's an ongoing plot that we're not aware of as readers that he's going to be developing later, which I think is really intriguing and interesting. He's a really good writer. I think the way he writes is really good storytelling. So his characters are very well fleshed out, his dialogue's very real, and makes you smile sometimes. There was a few moments in the plot where you just thought that was a really cool thing to put in there. And I imagine that kind of inventiveness and that sort of creativity is going to be running through the whole thing. It's very consistent. It's really endearing. I think Harry Dresden as a character is quite real. Because the book's in first person, that's got to work. And it really does work in a big way. When I read the first book, I was, in my mind, I was making comparisons with the Rivers of London series, because I had already read a couple of those, and they're both set in different places, but they're about detectives that are wizards, and they're also first person, and there's also quite sort of that male gaze is in both of them as well. So there are some similarities in the tone of the books, but I do think now I've read 3 of those ones and I've read 2 of these, I think I'm going to read these faster. I think these are better. I think the pace, the characterization, the plot itself, and the way it unfolds, like the events, the set pieces, are much better, much more interesting, much more dramatic, and much more satisfying, basically. So as a comparison, that's where I stand at the moment. I do really like the Rivers of London books. Don't get me wrong, but I've really been impressed with these. So this is the only second book I've read, but I can't wait to get into the others. I've got about 8 of them, 8 or 9 of them that I own, which I've found cheap and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, I bought the 3rd one of this new because I knew that. Well, I thought I was going to get to this quicker, to be honest, because I bought the 3rd one new quite a while ago. But I think all the other ones I've found secondhand. So I've got those books to read. So I can't wait to do that. So just talking a little bit, just I wanted to mention sort of the action side of it. He does write these set pieces really well. So there's a massive scene in the middle of the book, sort of like the beginning of the second half of the book, which is when a police station is utter chaos because there's a huge attack happening, and it's so well done. It's you get the sense that it's just being torn apart and everyone's in danger. And another thing about the way these books are written, Harry Dresden does not come out of this very well most of the time. It gets not just cuts and bruises, but he's in the right state through a lot of this book, and you've sort of found that with the other book as well. So I like that. I like one of the great things that I think that everyone says about the Netflix Daredevil series is how he just about manages to get through whatever he's trying to do, and he's there's that sense of peril and that sense that that danger is real because he's being beaten up so much, and that's true for this as well. So this massive set piece in the middle of the book is really, really well done. It's quite a huge thing that happens, and you need those kind of payoffs, I think, in books like this. And then you've got the ending, the big kind of finale, if you like, with all the different characters meeting up, and the kind of the final reveal about the final reveal about what is actually happening happens just before it, and it kind of leads to the finale. And then when the finale's played out, it's really good, and the ending is really satisfying. And I think because of characterization, because you do really care about them, it's really nice. The last kind of like the epilogue kind of the epilogue chapter makes you smile, and it is really cool because you do feel like the characters have grown in it. They've gone through a lot, and they've dealt with this very, I think, quite unique situation. I've never read a werewolf book or seen a werewolf film that's had this kind of depth of interest in what Jim Butcher wanted to do with the werewolf myth, which is quite cool. So yeah, really, really good. Can't wait to read more. This was part of my March Mystery Madness, which I'll link in the description below. But shout out to those guys, and thanks for giving me the motivation to get on with this series, because I am really enjoying it. And I'm going to be joining in somebody, I think it was them, created the Horror Mayhem one, which I've done a video for as well. But again, anybody that's hosting these things, huge thank you to them for creating this kind of community feel. And I will continue reading these, and like I was saying, the Horror Mayhem one, I want to get to the 3rd book of this, but it's not my main responses to the prompts. But if I get to that point, that'd be really cool. I might even read the next one next month. I'm not sure, because I've got some plans for that as well. I'm trying to read some of the books I've bought recently that have actually come out relatively recently as well, but we'll see. definitely worth you investing in Dresden Files if you haven't yet. There are lots of people on BookTube that have talked about Dresden Files before, so I'm a little bit late to the party, but I'm loving it, and thanks a lot. Bye.
Paint me a picture of what it's like to be